everybody. So happy to welcome today my friend Michelle Niemeyer. She needs no introduction from me. I want her to say all the great things she's done. But just a little parenthesis. This is one of the few podcasts I've done in English, so I am looking forward to my English podcast. So welcome, Michelle, and please tell us a little bit about your superpowers.
Okay, and I have to share a little thing before I even start about me, which is that I was Elaine's first personal finance client ever. We've known each other that long, and she's the best. So, okay, so I wanted to talk to people today about how they can accomplish what they want in 2024, how to make time for that. And I'm going to start by telling you about why time became important to me. I was a lawyer for 32 years, and I went through a period of time about 15 years ago where I was extremely burned out. For those of you who've experienced burnout, it's not a fun place to be. It makes you feel like you hate your job, you hate your life, you don't like your clients, you resent every choice you've made. It just is a deep, dark place, and it's very hard to get things done. And it took a long time and a lot of things for me to get from here to there. I first of all just kind of changed my mindset. But one of the things that I did first, and I want to help people who are in that place, hopefully pre-burnout, but also who maybe are in that deep, dark place, to get a grip on it and become productive again and become happy again. And so the first thing I did when I was looking for an answer was look for a time management course, because the first thing I saw that I thought was wrong, so to speak, was that I wasn't getting anything done. I felt like I was spinning my wheels and I didn't have control over my schedule. And I just felt like I needed somebody to help me manage my time. And so I bought a time management course. That was the first ever personal development, if you could call it that, thing that I ever did. And then over time after that, I actually became a certified health coach. I have done a lot of Tony Robbins work. I'm in his leadership mastery program, which teaches me how to train people in his methods. And a lot of these things all kind of have come together. And I've created a program that I use when I coach people, that my goal is to help people live the best life they can. We need to remember that, you may look at other people and go, oh my God, that person gets so much done. How did they get to this place? And I'm just here, or whatever. All of us have the same amount of time. All of us have the same number of seconds and minutes and hours and days and weeks in the year. And yet some people seem to just get a whole lot more done than other people, right? And so I looked at this, and I looked at a lot of holistic things that help you get from point A to point B and get more done. And it has a lot of components to it. To give you, we don't have a lot of time, but I'll tell you about a couple of them.
Yeah, you can give us an example.
Well, okay. So, for example, all of us have different things that really make us thrive, and we need to understand what those things are. And they help you generate energy. They help you be focused. They help you be.
What's yours, Michelle?
Mine is actually movement. If I'm not physically doing something every day, there was a time when I got in my car, drove to my office, sat on my desk, drove home, sat on the couch. If I am not physically active, I become a lump. And that's not just because I'm sitting on my couch. My mind isn't as sharp, and I don't feel as energetic, and I don't feel as motivated. And I think that's true for a lot of people. It's not true for everybody. For some people, it's totally different things. Some people are extreme extroverts, and if they're not around people all the time, they kind of start banging around in the, bouncing off the walls. It depends on who you are and knowing yourself, and that's really important.
Are there any steps any steps for anybody that's listening How do you discover what's that? Is it called like a mojo, or I mean, I'm just coming up with a number. A name.
Right, right. I mean, I call it gaining clarity and
Okay.
and understanding yourself. So yes, and in fact, when I work with people, when I'm coaching people, I spend an entire session just on that, just on identifying these things. And there are exercises we can do with journaling and that kind of thing. But what it really comes down to is getting real with yourself. And part of what I have people do, and you'll look up my website, you have my email there, so you can look up 𝐭𝐿𝐵𝐬𝐺𝐻. You'll see there are like pictures in that website of people, like kids, like jumping, and in young adults, like they're just energetic and excited and moving. And you know, that feeling, we all had things we did when we were young that gave us that feeling of excitement, of like you'd get in the flow state and you'd lose track of time because you were doing something you loved. For me, that was art, and it was reading. There were, you know, everybody's got those things.
Yeah, and it's so unique to everybody, right?
They're not the same for everybody. So you need to kind of think back on that. Like, are there things, and do you still do those things? Because sometimes just picking up something that makes you feel alive again is going to give you that kickstart. And I'll give you an example. I worked with somebody in coaching him who was he did SEO maximization or optimization for people. He lives in Australia, and when we talked about these things, he said to me, well, you know, the reason I live where I live and my wife and I bought this house is that it's 2 blocks from the beach, and I really love to surf. And I was like, awesome. When's the last time you went surfing? Well, I haven't been surfing in a long time. And he hadn't been surfing because he and his wife were exercising with their 3-year-old every day. It was their kind of family value. His wife was a personal trainer, and it was a thing that they decided that they wanted to impress upon their kids when they, you know, were very young, a value on working out every day. But obviously, if you're a really physical person who's been working out your entire adult life or teenage and adult life, and you're a high energy person, exercising with a 3-year-old isn't going to get you the kind of juice you need, right? So we talked about it, and his wife helped him out. She started doing the workouts with the kid, and he started surfing every day. And part of his business really was selling himself, and he was making calls pretty much every day, or trying to. In the first week after he started surfing again, he doubled the volume of calls.
Wow. And using time for surfing. How did he find time?
Exactly. So he got up in the morning early, and instead of getting up in the morning early and working out with his 3-year-old, he got up early and went surfing. And so that was the start of it. And, you know, that one change doubled the productivity of the time that he was working, making calls.
Wow.
So
do you think it was like more impactful what he was doing? Because it was at the same time.
Probably made it more impactful too, because I think most people realize if you're like you're in a energetic state and you're making sales calls and you come across like you're excited, as opposed to, oh, I'm so tired, I just got out of bed, right? You're more likely to sell things. So yeah, he probably was also more effective, but he doubled his call volume, and he was increasing his sales substantially. And by the end of a 12-week program with me, he doubled his business.
Wow.
And he had come into that program worried about how he was going to be able to support his wife and 3-year-old and the baby that was on the way. And she was going to be taking a maternity leave, and she wasn't going to be working. And so he was really scared about making enough money to cover everything. And by the time the 12 week was over, he had enough business to not worry about it. So it was just like, yeah, like it was crazy. And it started with just the simple step of going surfing and lighting his fire.
How long did it take him?
What's that?
How long did it take?
What do you mean, how long did it take?
From the time he started doing what he loved again to the
Till when
time.
he doubled his business?
Yeah.
It was inside the time of the 12-week program. I'd say 6-7 weeks.
Wow.
So, and there was another piece of it that then he implemented where, and this is something else that I recommend people do, is that we often try to reinvent the wheel. And we often try to, especially in the United States where we have such an individualistic culture, we try to do it ourselves, right?
Mhm.
Like, we don't want to ask for help. We think that we should do it ourselves. We should succeed on our own or whatever. And one of the things that I recommend is building a team. Once you have clarity on what you want and what,
Mhm.
and you know, what your goals are, to consider who you know who might have knowledge that you don't have.
Mhm.
And take that step to make that call. Call that person and say, hey, you know, I understand that you did this, or I understand that you're involved in this. How do I go about succeeding in doing what you did? And, you know, people want to help. And a lot of times you'll talk to somebody who gives you information that could completely shortcut. Like,
Mhm.
what you thought would take a year might now take you 3 months or 2 months because what they told you just saved you a whole lot of wasted time. So that's another piece, you know, that's one of 9 pieces of what I talk about. But each of those things, and I'm using this guy as an example specifically, and I want to tell you like what he did with that advice.
Right.
Was that he had a dream of one day going around Australia with a camper van. Everybody does that there. It's like it's a thing. So he wanted to do that.
Mhm.
And he, you know, it's something that he had like a 3 to 5 year plan where he wanted to go and travel for like a year. He started, and part of what I recommend people do is don't erect a wall between your personal and your business lives, because when you do that, you're losing opportunities.
Mhm.
You're losing opportunities to make friends on the personal side, and you're losing opportunities to learn things on your business side. And I'll just simple example: if you have somebody that you know through work, and you only talk about work, and you don't get to know about their family, or you don't get to know about what they're interested in, you might not realize that you have a goal of becoming let's say you want to learn to fly. And it turns out the person that you work with, who you've never talked about this, when you tell that person you've always wanted to learn to fly, you find out that that person's spouse or that person is part of a flying club, and that they got their license, and here's how they went about it.
Wow.
Right?
So
Like,
do you recommend to be focused on less things? I mean, how do you, on one thing, like how many things can you be focused on?
well, I think that differs for different people, but I think that, you know, the more things you try, you can't be focused on too many things. You can't. And you can't be constantly juggling and multitasking, because you can't be effective at anything if you're not focused on the thing you're doing right now. So clarity is really important. And that goes not just for who am I and what lights me up, but also what do I really want? And do the things that I'm working toward light me up? Like, you know, one of the things that I find often with people I'm working with is we go through an analysis of what I call 3 big hairy goals.
Okay.
3 huge life goals that they have. It's something that they've always wanted to accomplish. It might be, you know, you want to start your own business, or you want to be an owner in your business, or you want to be, you know, if you're a lawyer like I was, a partner in your law firm as opposed to an associate, or, you know, you want to own a yacht, or you want to travel the world, whatever it is. You need to know why. Why do you want to do that? And the interesting thing is, a lot of people, when you get down to it, they look at that goal, and we start getting into, okay, so what is it about this that makes you excited about it? Why do you want to accomplish this? And sometimes what people realize is they don't. It's something that they've been raised to think that they should do.
Mm-hmm.
And so it's always been their goal, or it's been their goal for a long time because it's just expected of them, but it's not really what they want. And a lot of times those goals we drag along with us that we haven't accomplished, the reason that we haven't accomplished them and we're just procrastinating is because we really don't want to do it. So if there's a goal like that, it makes more sense to get real about what you actually want,
Right.
and give yourself the grace to take it off the list. Like you don't
How do you know if what you're pursuing is what you're supposed to pursue?
I have people go through an analysis where they look at that.
Okay.
They look at, what do you already have? The strengths. What do you know things? Have you gotten things? Have you, where are you in that process, so to speak?
Mm-hmm.
What are the risks of doing it? Sometimes there are risks of doing things that people are so afraid of that it's holding them back.
Mm-hmm.
And is it even a real risk, or is it a risk that, you don't want to do that because it really is a real risk that could take down the house of cards, so to speak, in other ways? Are there opportunities that come from it, and also, are there, what kind of things do you need to be able to accomplish it that you don't have yet, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then I add a level of, that's all kind of a business school analysis that sometimes is called a SWOT analysis.
Uh-huh.
I know I told you this. I learned that in Spanish from a Venezuelan guy who used the acronym FLOR. And when I translated it from his Spanish to my English words, I came up with SWOR. And I added a D to it, which is desire. So if, really, when you think about it, do you want it?
Or how bad do you want it?
Right. Like, is this something that's worth taking your time and spending your money and whatever it is to get this goal that maybe isn't really your dream at all? Maybe it was your parents' dream for you, or maybe in your schooling, that's kind of the track you were told that you should be on, but really you love something completely different. So all of that, I think, when we really get real about
Mm-hmm.
what we want, who we are, and what lights us up, we become more clear about what matters. And when we're clear about what matters, a lot of times, a lot of that stuff that we think we need to do by the end of the year falls off because it really doesn't matter, right? And it's stuff you've been carrying around in your head that you have to do that, but you don't need to do it. Then there's other stuff that you can find a way to delegate it. Or it's, I'm sure you've heard of this. There's something they call the 80-20 rule, which is that 80%, of 20% of the work you do generates 80% of the results. Mm-hmm. So if you can be smart about how you spend your time, a lot of times you can get more done in less time and with less effort.
Right. And so just to kind of circle back on the title, and I appreciate sharing all this, Michelle. So how to make time to accomplish what you want in 2024. If I heard you correctly, if somebody follows this methodology that you're talking about, they would be able to laser focus on the thing that has the most impact.
Exactly.
And don't waste their time in things that are taking so much noise out of the day. And sometimes, I don't know about you, but it's happened to me that, you have so many things that you can't even get anything done.
Right. And if you have a great level of clarity about what matters the most, and you can focus on those things get a lot quieter. Things get a lot more, one of the things that happens is if you're feeling all scattered and overwhelmed, and you're not sleeping, and you're not exercising, and you're not eating right, and you're not doing the things that keep you happy and motivated, the level of productivity you have in the time you do focus on those things is lower. So that gives you more time as well. If you, like back to my guy who went surfing in the morning, his time was more productive because he was juiced when he went to his office in the morning versus going to his office going, oh, I've got this list of 100 people I have to call or whatever, right? So when you're more motivated because you're doing something you're excited about and you feel good. You got enough sleep, you got some exercise, taking that half hour to treat your body right can give you an extra hour of time during the day.
Wow, that's very powerful. I know of people taking naps in the middle of the day. I've never been able to do that, but it's kind of one strategy, right? That will pump you up and just get you the best maximization of your time and your productivity. Well,
exactly.
Can you share before we wrap up, what have you shifted to increase your impact?
Oh my God, everything. So I became a certified health coach about 7 years ago now. It's quite a while ago. And I did that for my own knowledge. And as I was learning, I really got very interested in what I could do with that. And in the last year, I have completely changed careers. I wound out of a law practice that I've been in for 32 years. I had my own bufete for 20 years. And I took my last client about 4.5 years ago, and, with the promise from a referring lawyer that it would only be a couple of letters, that this insurance company would come to their senses. Well, they didn't. And it ended up being something that took almost 5 years to resolve, but it ended in May. And I'm now full-time providing training for corporations and speaking and on the topic of what I call the art of bending time, which is what we just talked about. And I'll also do one-on-one coaching for people who are interested in that, or groups. So if anybody's interested in that, they can reach out to the email that I have here and we can set up a call.
That's awesome. And if anybody's listening and knows somebody, because maybe you're listening because you love the topic so much and you're so good at it, but you have a brother, a sister, a mother, a daughter, somebody that needs a little bit of time and focus in their life, Michelle is a great coach. So I highly encourage you to reach out to her. So thank you, Michelle, for your time. Thank you, everybody, for staying on. And I just wish you lots of success.
Well, thank you, Elaine.
Thank you.
It's good to see you.
For everybody.
Okay.